But so what? That's part of the game. You don't stop because you fail. Then you don't. It's like if you know, you know, my attitude is, hey, when I'm dead, then so far nobody's been able to come back and tell me about death. So until that happens, I want to live.
Jacqueline Avant, wife of famed music exec Clarence Avant and mother-in-law of Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos, was fatally shot in the Avant's Beverly Hills home early Wednesday morning. She was 81.
Married for more than 5 decades, Clarence and Jacqueline, or Jackie Avant, were a powerful couple, and they were known for using that power for good.
And what they've done for the communities and just for their philanthropy and just their goodness, you wonder, how did this happen to the Godfather? Are any of us safe?
At the dinner, he expressed he had no interest in retiring, and he was looking forward to working with Roc Nation to build a better, brighter future for our people and music. 3 weeks later, some random wanders into his mansion with armed security and all that, with a AR, right? His 80-year-old wife, Jacqueline Avant, in the back.
So it looks like the feds have officially confirmed who took out the Black Godfather, Clarence Avant. And if you've been keeping up, you've probably heard people throwing around Diddy and Jay-Z's names in connection to this case. Now, I know this might sound like another conspiracy theory, but let's look at the facts. Clarence Avant wasn't just any guy in the industry. He was the ultimate power player. He built the careers of so many artists, and that kind of influence can make enemies. Not only that, but he also wanted to revolutionize the industry and get artists to stop promoting all that negativity in their music. And keep in mind that Diddy and Jay-Z both made their way to the top with Avant's help. Diddy even wrote this heartfelt tribute to Avant following his death in 2023, and he said Avant was one of his most beloved mentors and friends. But let's be real, this wasn't the first time Diddy was out here sharing touching tributes for people who passed under suspicious circumstances that some say he might have had a hand in. And some sources are now saying Clarence Avant's power started to feel like a threat to both Diddy and Jay-Z. So according to one theory, when Clarence's wife, Jacqueline, was during a home invasion 2 years prior to Clarence's death, this was a warning to Clarence because he was standing in the way of bigger plans for Diddy and Jay-Z's dominance in the industry. And now it looks like there's some new info coming through about the Avant family tragedy. This case runs deep, so keep watching because I'm about to break it all down for you.
The months upon arrest laughed about it to the police and told them how he enjoyed an old woman in the back. Like he ain't have a care in the world. I recently found out that 3 days after that, apparently Clarence Avant has went into a state of full-blown dementia, regressive dementia.
Clarence Avant, aka the Black Godfather, was on a whole other level in the music industry. If you wanted to make moves in the music world, you needed Clarence on your side. But while Clarence was building careers, Jay-Z and Diddy were out here plotting their rise to power. And honestly, it's not hard to see how Clarence became a major threat to them. So who exactly was Clarence Avant? Well, for starters, Clarence was a pioneer in the music business who came up in the 1960s and 70s. And he didn't just make stars, he made legends. He was responsible for helping the careers of some of the biggest names in music like Bill Withers, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and even Quincy Jones. Clarence was the man who brokered deals that no one else could. But Clarence didn't just secure the bag for himself. He was the type who made sure his people ate too. He always negotiated for artists to own their masters, got them better contracts, and looked out for black talent when no one else in the industry would.
If you look at the record companies and the publishing companies today, so here's what you have. You have Universal Records, which is probably 32 to 34% of the marketplace. Then you go to Sony BMG, which is Japan and Germany. And I'm hoping that whatever it is, the union, the European unions or whatever you want to call them, I hope it breaks up. Now, if Edgar Bronfman buys EMI or if EMI buys Warner Brothers, what does that mean? That means you're going to have another 400 or 500 people laid off. That means you only have 3 components. So you have Universal, which has 33 to 34% of the marketplace. You have BMG Sony, which has at least 25%. Then you have Warner Brothers, EMI or EMI Warner Brothers. So that means you only have 3 components. What does that do so far as I'm concerned? That cuts out a lot of the creative process because all those guys, so if you BMG Sony, You got to worry about Stringer, and you got to worry about the guy in Germany, whoever that guy is. Then if you Doug, you got to worry about Vivendi, that's the French company. Then if you EMI, you got to worry about whoever's in London. And so those guys who are in America running it, they have to make numbers. They have to, every quarter, they have to make these goddamn numbers. And so you don't have time really to develop artists.
Now let's contrast that with Diddy and Jay-Z, because the way they operated is a whole different vibe. We all know the stories. Both Diddy and Jay-Z have been accused of using people and then tossing them aside once they get what they wanted. Just ask any of the bad boy artists who've complained about unfair contracts and being left high and dry. As for Jay-Z, he's always played the long game, and while his business skills are undeniable, there's also no denying that he's ready to cut down anything or anyone that stands in his way. But Clarence Avant was never about crushing the competition. He believed in community, in building bridges, and in lifting others up. One of the biggest examples of his influence was the way he advocated for black talent across all sectors of entertainment, not just music. He helped artists break into mainstream markets, and he was instrumental in helping black executives rise to power.
How you've assisted so many others, including myself, in achieving so many things. And I would have to say that there's probably not one single individual alive who has contributed more to the growth of African American executives.
Clarence Avant is a man that I met during a long, long time ago when he was with Buddha Records. And I met him because of Gladys Knight and the Pips. From that point on, I lived not too far from him in Los Angeles. And both of my children got to know his children, and I became friends with his wife, Jackie.
Clarence Avant, mentor, consultant, friend, debater. I guess I could just go on and on and on about Clarence Avant and what he has meant to my life and to my career.
The contributions, Clarence, you've made to this industry, you are well aware of it because it comes from the bottom, the deepest part of your soul, you know that, both from behind the front lines and behind the lines. You are there for everybody.
So where does this leave Jay-Z and Diddy? Well, Clarence Avant's level of influence was probably intimidating to them. They may be moguls now, but back when they were coming up, Clarence was the guy who still held all the cards. And think about it, if Clarence had such a stronghold on the industry, he had the power to make or break careers. Jay and Diddy might have felt like they couldn't fully dominate the scene as long as Clarence was around, with his influence, connections, and control over the industry's biggest moves. Besides that, Clarence wasn't just respected, he was loved. He gave back to his community, made sure artists weren't just successful, but also taken care of in the long run. Meanwhile, Diddy and Jay have made it clear that they're about building empires, even if it means stepping on a few people to get there. Clarence was a threat because he represented a different kind of power, one that was about legacy and longevity, not just stacking money and controlling the narrative. In other words, Clarence was standing in the way of people like Jay-Z and Diddy, who wanted absolute dominance in the industry. Now let's talk about the tragedy that struck the Avant family and why some industry insiders are convinced Jay-Z and Diddy were involved in it. On December 1st, 2021, 3 days before Jay-Z's birthday, Clarence Avant's wife, Jacqueline, or Jackie, was killed at the age of 81 during a home invasion at the Avant residence in Beverly Hills. Now, the reason I mentioned this happened 3 days before Jay-Z's birthday is because of this viral theory that has been gaining traction online, claiming that Jay-Z and Diddy have been performing sacrifices on or around their birthdays. So according to this theory, whenever Diddy and Jay-Z and Beyonce wanted someone out of the picture, they'd make it happen around their birthday. Aaliyah died in that suspicious plane crash just 10 days before Beyonce's birthday in 2001. Then there's Kathy White, Jay-Z's rumored mistress, who suddenly passed at age 28, 3 days before Beyonce's birthday in 2011. Next, we have Diddy's Kim Porter, who died on November 15th, 2018, 11 days after Diddy's birthday. By the way, almost exactly 10 years before Kim passed, her ex Shakir Stewart allegedly took his own life on November 1st, 2008, 3 days before Diddy's birthday. And then we have rapper Pimp C, who had beef with Jay-Z, mysteriously dying on Jay's birthday, December 4th, 2007. Now, sure, it could all be a coincidence, but at this point, can we really rule anything out? A lot of things people were saying about Diddy for years were dismissed as conspiracies, but here we are now, and those so-called conspiracies are being proven true one by one. Oh, and here's another coincidence for you. Did you know that Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Diddy all share the same birthday number? They all have birthdays on the 4th. Beyonce's birthday is September 4th, Diddy's is November 4th, and Jay-Z's is December 4th. Now let's circle back to Jackie Avant and her tragic death. On December 1st, 2021, around 2:30 a.m., LAPD officers and paramedics responded to a call from the Avant family residence in Beverly Hills, and when they arrived, they found Jacqueline Avant with a wound. She was rushed to the hospital, but sadly she did not survive. The suspect or suspects were gone by the time police arrived. And what's interesting is that nothing was stolen from the home. Also, Beverly Hills Police Chief Mark Stainbrook said he didn't believe this was a random attack. But then just days later, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office announced that a man had been charged in connection with Jacqueline Avant's murder. Ariel Maynor, who was 29 at the time, was accused of fatally shooting Jackie and attempting to kill her security guard during an alleged robbery.
You will be caught and brought to justice.
Police say 29-year-old Ariel Maynor is responsible for Jacqueline Avant, the 81-year-old wife of music legend Clarence Avant. It happened in their home in the wealthy Truesdale neighborhood of Beverly Hills at 2:30 Wednesday morning. Just 1 hour later, police responded to another home in nearby Hollywood.
He was in the house and collecting property, and then after that, somehow discharged a weapon and foot.
This video appears to show Maynor with an injured foot being wheeled away from the Hollywood home.
Maynor faced several charges and was eventually sentenced to 190 years to life in prison.
And specifically 190 years to life. That is his exact sentence. Now, the judge taking big issue with the fact that Maynor's vulnerable 81-year-old woman in the back, waking her up at 2:30 in the morning in a robbery attempt of her home. And according to the judge, she says that wasn't enough for Maynor. He went on to an unarmed security guard at the front of the home.
But despite the suspect being caught and sentenced, fans weren't completely convinced because there were still a lot of unanswered questions, like how the glass door was reportedly broken from the inside and how the security guard didn't fire back.
The particulars of this story, some things are weird. Why would some random dusty run up to that particular house, all the houses in Beverly Hills, and he just happens to run up to the black person's house? You skip over all of those people's homes and just target that one in particular. You understand? Now, a lot of people are saying this looks like a targeted hit. Yeah, that's what it smells like, but we want to know who orchestrated it. Who is behind it? We have to ask a lot of questions here. They said the suspect, basically, and this is the suspect, a dude named Ariel Maynor. They said basically he robbed their house. Then he went to another house to rob it, but he accidentally himself in the foot. He had an AR-15. He ran up in Clarence Avant's house in Beverly Hills, and they got security. The dude security, from what I understand, but security didn't fire back. The security at Clarence Avant's place, he didn't fire back. Like, this is the house right here. Now, as you see, ladies and gentlemen, this is the house. As you see, the glass was broken from the inside. Okay? Just an observation. Now, there could be several scenarios. Maybe he broke in one way and broke out the other way. Usually how a person breaks in, they break out the same way. I don't know. But as you see here, this is a shot of the house, and the window, it was broken from the inside to the outside. So why didn't the burglar just leave out the same way he came in?
And then it's also bizarre how this guy only got caught because he accidentally shot himself in the foot with an AR. And this is the same guy who managed to sneak into one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in Beverly Hills without getting shot at by the security guards. Something's just not right with this whole case. But here's where it gets even crazier. Jaguar Wright pointed out that Clarence Avant attended a Roc Nation event before his wife was unalived, where he reportedly talked about how black executives should work together to uplift their community instead of competing with each other and promoting negativity. So apparently, Diddy and Jay-Z thought Clarence was going to announce his retirement, but Clarence told them he wasn't going anywhere and promised to continue fighting for a better future of the music industry.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. Last November, 2021, there was a Roc Nation brunch. Clarence Avant, the Black Godfather of the industry, responsible for Quincy Jones' career, brought us Bill Withers, took care of the game for the Jews for many years, decades. At the dinner, he expressed he had no interest in retiring, and he was looking forward to working with Rock Nation to build a better, brighter future for our people in music. 3 weeks later, some random wanders into his mansion with armed security and all that, with a rifle, and 80-year-old wife Jacqueline Avant in the back. The upon arrest laughed about it to the police and told them how he enjoyed that old woman in the back, like he ain't have a care in the world. I recently found out that 3 days after that, apparently Clarence Avant has went into a state of full-blown dementia, progressive dementia, eating applesauce and blowing bubbles and milk and shit. But 3 weeks before that, he was perfectly fine. I guess he had to retire, huh? Not long after that, Diddy and Jay-Z been running around acting like they run LA.
And then Diddy's bodyguard Gene Deal joined the chat and said that Diddy and Jay-Z were chosen by the higher-ups to take Clarence's position in the industry. But Diddy messed up and got a little too big for his boots.
Mr. Avant was the man. And I used to say, I know California got beautiful weather. If it ain't burning. I know California got a lot of nice things. But why did Jay-Z and Puff move out there when they used to be scared to death to be out there? They were being... When I seen Puff, y'all thought because Puff was with them white men in the NFL, the bosses, all up under them, that it was because allegedly maybe some gay tendencies. But they were being... Puff probably was in first position and Jay probably was in second position. Puff messed this position up. Still got a little power, but you don't go against the establishment and they people. You don't go against... Jay did a lot for them people. They wanted to build housing close to downtown, affordable housing close to downtown Brooklyn. But he had y'all believe and stopped all that because they wanted the Barclays Center there. Everybody thought that was gonna be Jay. Jay gonna own the Barclays system. Jay gonna own the Barclays thing. A black man gonna own the Barclays thing. Well, if you can own something and you got 1% in it, I guess you 1% owner. 1 or 2%. But they will be being groomed to take over the power that Mr. Clarence Avant has in the business.
Now, as for Clarence Avant's passing, he died in his home in Los Angeles on August 13th, 2023, after reportedly suffering from dementia for a few years. But fans couldn't help but think it was a bit too convenient that Clarence died in August 2023, and just 2 months later, Cassie dropped that lawsuit on Diddy, which kicked everything off and ultimately led to Diddy's arrest. And now the only one left standing is Jay-Z. So is all this part of some master plan to let Jay-Z take full control of the industry? Well, some people will brush it off as just a conspiracy theory, but plenty of others are convinced we still haven't seen the whole picture of Jay-Z's shady dealings. One fan said, they have been sitting back for years lining up people. Both of them should be in prison. Somebody ain't doing their job. And another person added, but you see how after Avant died, both Diddy and Jay began to collapse? Both these men went too far being greedy and cutthroat, and now the same sword they used on everyone else is being used on them. Satan has a boss to answer to and never was really in control. He's an actor who has a producer to answer to as well. Remember that. But what's your take on this? Do you think Jay-Z and Diddy really had something to do with the tragedy that struck the Avant family? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you stick around for this next video.